Good morning. This morning I want to share with you very briefly about preparing to receive your promise. Preparing to receive your promise. Because receiving your promise requires a preparation. And let me just share that from the book of Joshua, chapter 1 and verse 10 and 11, where then it says, Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, Pass through the camp and command the people, saying, Prepare provisions for yourself, for within 3 days you will cross over this Jordan to go in to possess the land which the Lord your God is giving you to possess. And here, the people were going in to possess their promised land. And as they were going to possess their promised land, Joshua told the people, Prepare to cross over and into your promise. Prepare for your promise, which teaches us the cardinal principle that there is a preparation that is required to enter into your promise. And you see this throughout in the Bible. You know, Noah prepared for 40 days in the ark to step into a new world. Jesus prepared for 40 days in the wilderness, fasting and praying to begin his ministry. Moses prepared for 40 years in the wilderness to take over the leadership of the nation of Israel. And so there is always a preparation for entering into the promise. And therefore at this time that you and I have also been locked in at home is a time of preparation by the Lord to step into your promise. And so firstly, it's important to realize that stepping into your promise requires a preparation. Let me share one aspect about the nature of that preparation. Because it tells here that Joshua told the people, prepare food for yourself to step into the promised land. Prepare food for yourself. You can imagine how unusual that request was, because for 40 years these people have been fed with manna from heaven. And a people that had never prepared their food, they were not a farming community, they were wanderers in the desert, were suddenly told, no more manna, you have to prepare your food. You have to prepare your food. And so the second aspect that we actually see is that there was, stepping into the promise, there was going to be a shift from God doing miracles in their lives to them actually moving and functioning in their calling. And their calling was to be possessors of the promised land. And the promised land itself was going to provide for them, because God told them, I'm taking you into a land flowing with milk and honey. And so as they were stepping into the land flowing with milk and honey, the manna stopped and the milk and honey was to begin, and they were told to prepare to move into that promise, to just get ready with their food, to start the principle of preparing their food. So the second point of preparing to receive your promise is in fact to be ready to shift from God just doing things for you to beginning to fulfill your responsibilities that you have in the Lord. You know, life itself teaches us that. When a baby is born, when a child is born, it's a baby and the mother nurses the child and just gives it everything, feeds it, gives it milk, washes, cleans, and the baby thinks life is wonderful, everything is provided for me. But you cannot be a baby forever. You are still loved, and as part of the love, the child grows up. And as part of the growing process is that they have to enter into what is their responsibilities as a student and then into the working world. And it's the same thing with God, that you begin to move in to your promise. And let's see what actually possessing the promised land was. When you get to Joshua chapter 3 verses 14 to 17, it says, So it was when the people set off from the camp to cross over the Jordan with the priests bearing the ark of the covenant, that they came to the edge of the water, and the banks were overflowing. And all the waters which came down from upstream stood still when what? The priests who bore the ark dipped into the edge of the water. When the priests came and just put their feet into the waters parted. And what it was actually saying is that the waters were flowing, overflowing. It was close to a flood at that time. And it's certainly a risky business for priests to get in with the ark into a flood. But God required that they take that step of faith. And when they took the step of faith, the waters parted, and the road to move into the promise was opened. So, my friends, this is the simple thought that I want to leave with you about receiving and inheriting your promise. Because God has for you a promise, and He is preparing you to receive that promise, because receiving the promise requires preparation. Part of that preparation is shifting from being always given things by God to actually being ready and available to move into your calling and to fulfill your responsibilities before Him. And one aspect of fulfilling, the first step in fulfilling those responsibilities, is that you are prepared to take a step of faith. See, whenever God has wanted to do things through people, be it to fell a giant through David, to feed 5,000 through an unnamed young boy, to part the waters of the Red Sea through Moses, He has always asked for a simple step of faith first. Whether it has been to go up before a giant with a sling and a stone, whether to share your lunch when everyone else was hungry, yourself included, whether to just stand before a sea and raise your rod when the enemy armies were chasing behind you. The action itself is not a big action, but it requires a lot of faith. And without faith, it's impossible to please God. Without faith, it is impossible to receive your promise, and God is calling you to step into your promise. God bless you.